let's talk about mental health then.
Okay, sounds good.
So when we talk about mental health, we know that POI can affect our mental health, not just like in terms of infertility, emotional, physical, and it can affect us impactly and have a major impact on our mental health. So how has POI affected your mental health over the years?
Yeah, I when I was looking at the list of symptoms again, and I saw that anxiety and depression was on there as like a symptom or a side effect of POI, and
Yeah.
I was just like, oh my goodness, like sometimes you're going through lots of things in your life and you don't exactly know why you might have anxiety or why you might be going through different stages of depression. But then just like knowing that that can be really linked to your hormones kind of made me feel a little bit better and be less hard on myself, because I feel like I can be very hard on myself as a person. But
Yeah.
yeah, like, so I have had, anxiety, and I still sometimes am dealing with that certain days. Uh, and sometimes depression. I think my depression has gotten a lot better. It's more like low mood. Right now, I don't have depression, but when I was first diagnosed, there was definitely like a period of depression I went through where I was coming to terms with the diagnosis. And like you said, the infertility part of it is such a big, devastating blow. Like if you wanted to have kids, and being told that, it can be so devastating. So that was something I had to deal a lot with over the years, So yeah, I would say low mood. And then at some points over the course of the last 10 years, I've had depression, and then I go with anxiety on and off. But like, yeah, that's kind of, I think, my main points there. How about you?
The same for me actually. For me, like I said earlier, mood swing. It's still
Mm-hmm.
something like I still sometimes. So I've kind of find a way to when I recognize that I'm going to like I'm really moody. I recognize okay, this is happening as long as I'm very aware of it, and I try to, especially when I'm surrounded by family or friends, I'm in
Mm-hmm.
a very bad mood. I try not to kind of put my mood on them, so I'm very kind of aware of it. So I
Mm-hmm.
think
Mm-hmm.
that's it's. And for me as well, anxiety, yes, anxiety, it's one thing. Like, even before we started this video, I could hear my heart already pumping, pumping. Like, relax, relax,
I know.
relax. So anxiety is something I deal with all the time. Like, I think I said something the other day, like my granny always used to say, when you have anxiety, it shows that you're passionate about whatever it is that you're about to, whatever it is you're about to do. So I take it
Yeah.
that way.
Yeah.
And yeah, for me also, let's see what else. I have a few things here. I still do get like heart palpitation once in a while. That's one thing I notice as well too. I get heart palpitation,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not as often as it used to be,
Mm-hmm.
but I still do get it once in a while. And
Yeah, same.
yeah, that's pretty much it. Just a few of those things. And I think it kind of depends on the day as well too. Some days are better than others
Mm-hmm.
as well.
Mm-hmm.
So those are some of the things that I still do. How POI affected my mental health, and I think the major thing actually is the lack of concentration for me.
Mm-hmm.
It's so hard sometimes to actually just focus on one thing. I find myself just kind of being all over the place all the time. So I try to
Mm-hmm.
draw myself in, but that has improved dramatically compared to before. But I think that as
Mm-hmm.
well, and just the brain fog as well too. It's
Yeah.
sometimes you're having a conversation, you're doing something, all of a sudden you're blank. You're like, what
Yeah.
did I do? You're looking for something. Where did I put that? And people don't tend to understand. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
those things as well,
Yeah.
it plays a major part for POI
Yeah.
definitely affects me that way. I think POI has actually stopped me in terms of some things that I wanted to kind of, let's say, accomplish in life. I had to take a step back because, the it affected my mental health so dramatically that I had to make like changes in my
Mm-hmm.
life just to kind of make things easier for me and be able to kind of just live a life whereby, it's not hectic, basically.
Yeah,
So yeah.
totally. Yeah, I understand that too. And I feel the same way as you as well. And also fatigue, I think I've been dealing with a little bit more lately. And I've been kind of angry about that, like I feel like it holds me back a little bit. Like there's things I want to do, but then sometimes the fatigue is too intense that I have to just take the resting time. So like you said, like restructuring some things in life to make it a little bit more balanced is what I've been working on. And yeah, I have definitely changed my hectic lifestyle because especially when I was first diagnosed, I think I was doing too much. And I still think I tried to do too much over the years, but trying to get more balance. And I've slowed down a lot in the last couple of years,
That's good.
just because I got to the point where my mental health was suffering too much and I will
Yeah.
get burnt out. I would go until burnout, and then I would be absolutely exhausted. And then, it wasn't balanced enough. And I've been really trying to work on keeping that balance more.
That's good. Yeah.
Um, yeah. But yeah, so like you said, some days are different than other days. And some days I'll have anxiety, but I don't know why. Like there's no reason. Like I do get like performance anxiety before a speech or an interview or something, or doing things at work,
Yeah.
but sometimes there's no real reason. Like sometimes I just feel overwhelmed or I feel anxious about stuff, or I'm going over things over and over and over again in my mind and
Yes.
obsessing about stuff. And yeah, it's been something I have to work on to help to get out of those
Yeah.
cycles when I get in those. But yeah, like
Yeah.
I wanted to talk about some things that we've done for helping our mental health. Like meditation has been helping me a lot, and also
That's good.
counseling, I think too. So yeah, I have a really great counselor, and if anybody is watching needs a counselor and wants me to send them information, I can share the info with them, send me a message. But yeah, I think that counseling is really important to work through everything, especially there's so many things going on in life already, and then you have to deal with your diagnosis and come to terms with all the stuff that goes along with it. I think it's really important to take that time and to work through it with a counselor, because otherwise it can just constantly feel overwhelming and you push it away and not deal with it. But then it comes out, and it comes out in times when you don't want it to. But
You
like
suspected. Yeah.
say there's like a period of more stress in your life in other areas, then it's just like everything just comes crashing down. Because if you push it off too far and you don't deal with it and you don't work through it, it always comes back. It always comes knocking on your door like, hey, I'm still here. You got to deal with me. Like,
You can't
yeah.
get rid of me. I'm right here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think just before I share some of the things that I do to help my mental health, I think one of the big things as well in terms of how much impact mental health had on me was that it got to a stage whereby I started to feel so guilty that I was allowing my mental health or my POI condition to kind of stop me from doing things that I wanted to do. I felt like I was making excuses.
Mm,
But I really had to come to it got to a point where I actually did I broke down completely, and that's how important I said, okay, no, this is actually, my mental health is actually very important. I need to take it very, very seriously because,
yeah.
if your mental state is not stable or it's not in the right place, you're not going to be able to do what you want to do. And sometimes it's okay to take step back and not be able to do the thing you wanted to do because the
Hmm.
it affects your mental health. So it's just, you kind of have to find out what works for you or what doesn't work for you then, basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
And some of the
Maybe
things
restructuring things
exactly
sometimes.
restructure
Doesn't
things
have
and
to,
things
it's
will
not
do.
always the way you think it will be, but you could still maybe get your goal, but just like making a little bit more time or being less hard on
Exactly.
yourself, or, yeah.
Yeah. Finding
Yeah.
another way to get to it, a way that makes it
Hmm.
more easier for yourself to get to it and trying to go one way. So that's one thing
Hmm.
I've learned. So some of the
Hmm.
things that work for me in terms of maintaining my mental health is keeping active. So
Hmm.
like an active lifestyle has been like it's really helped me a lot. When I don't work out or anything, I like my body actually feels it. Like I feel like okay, I need to do something. So that's
Hmm.
really helped me. Acceptance, actually, when I talk about acceptance, I think for a long time I didn't talk about it. I wasn't open about it, and I wasn't willing to acknowledge it or anything. So acceptance, actually accepting that okay, I'm going through this. This is happening,
Hmm.
and then talking about it has actually helped me dramatically.
That's great.
And and music, listening to
Yes.
music. Music is a great therapy for me. I always continue to say that I love listening to music. It helps me in even when I'm in a bad mood, just put music on. It lifts my spirit
Hmm.
then. And
Definitely.
yes, dancing and
Hmm.
personal conversations. Like I'm kind of person I talk to myself a lot. I intend to have conversations with myself. So just having like personal conversations and kind I think it
Right.
helps me to kind of be able to internalize a lot of things with myself.
Hmm.
So I think that that helps me. And eating a balanced meal. So I try to eat as healthy as I can. So
Hmm.
I do stray once in a while, but I always try to pull myself back to make sure I eat very healthy to help myself, making sure I have calcium and enough vitamin D in my
Hmm.
meal. And just like general like self-care method, like I think me and you like we're both into essential oils. Even before I
Hmm.
started, I put in my
Yeah.
essential oils right there just to kind of give it some
Nice.
nice fragrance and relaxing
Hmm.
mood. And lighting a candle, having a shower, just little things to help you kind of take care of
Yes.
yourself. So these are some of the things that I do.
That's awesome. Definitely. I love all of those things too, and I think it's so important. Yeah, like even just putting on some music and dancing around by yourself,
Yes.
like, just lifts your mood, and or if it just can change it so much. And I love dancing too, and doing that kind of stuff. I also like gardening. I have a garden, which in the summertime when the weather is nice, it's relaxing for me, which is something I really like. And I wanted to say about what did I, yeah, just taking time for yourself. Massages and acupuncture and chiropractor have helped a lot with my back pain,
Okay.
and joint pain and muscle pain. So I do that kind of thing. And writing in a journal helps me a lot,
Yes. Yes.
especially when I'm feeling overwhelmed. I
Yeah.
find that I get overwhelmed if I'm not writing in my journal. So if I'm consistent with it, it helps my mental health a lot. Like even if it's nothing, like whatever I'm writing, it's like, oh, why did I even write that? It doesn't. But like even if it's just like, what did I do today, or like how was I feeling, what happened, and then putting like what you're grateful for that day, or what was the best part of your day, what was the hard part, like going through and writing down. It's like just doing that every day or even every second day helps so much. If I don't do it for like a week, I'm ready for like a mental breakdown. It's like I'm
Oh,
like super overwhelmed by the time, like, and then I'm like, oh my gosh, I haven't been writing in my journal. I need to just go back to
it's a
that
way of
and
kind of
check in.
releasing that. Yeah, it's a way of releasing that
Hmm.
energy out. Yeah, I
Yeah,
definitely agree.
releasing
That's
it.
great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that and yeah, I just wanted to say too, like then there's so many different things as long as you have like time that you set aside for yourself and good hobbies that you enjoy that are relaxing and stuff. I was wanting to say like with being so busy, like if you don't schedule self-care time, it doesn't happen. Like
No.
there's always something that comes up, and I find like if if I want to have self-care time and I'm not really strict about it, there'll always be something else that takes it away. And then you start resenting whatever that thing is that's taking away the time that you wanted to have for yourself. And then the more and more you don't set the time aside for yourself, then it starts just becoming more and more overwhelming. You continue to get more and more tired. And that's when I get to the point of like getting a breakdown. So I have to make sure, like, even if I schedule it, like, this hour is self-care time, or this, like it, but it's so important because otherwise it doesn't happen. And I don't
Yeah.
want to resent things in my life. I like my work, I love my family, my partner, my friends. Like I don't want to resent anyone or anything. So making sure that I put it aside, because it's so hard, especially if you're a busy person, or if you're a mom, and if you have family, if you have a lot of things going on. And I saw, Neve,
Someone said
hi.
hello. Yeah.
Hi, how are you? Hi, Neve. Thanks for joining. Yeah, so I just wanted to add that in. And yeah.
Yeah, I definitely agree. That was actually something there, like writing. Like even though I wasn't much of a person that used to write on journals when I was younger, I noticed I've gotten more into it. And what I normally do, even when I don't write, I have like audio. I just kind of record,
Hmm.
just talk and record what I'm going through,
Yeah,
and that really
just
helps
getting
as
it
well
out,
too. Yeah,
right?
getting it out helps definitely.
Yeah,
So yeah, I
that's
don't think we
awesome.
have. It is awesome. I don't think it's anything else on the list.
Let me
I
just.
think just kind of exploring as well, finding things that that makes you happy and that works for you. Explore different avenues. When it comes to self-care and taking care of your mental health, there's many ways. It's just finding something that works for you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's really important just to explore because there's not one way to it. So yeah.
Definitely. And I
Yeah,
think, yeah, the general taking care of your health generally is just so important too. That goes for everybody, not just people who have POI, right? But like you're saying, eating well, exercising, making sure you're getting enough sleep. Those are
yeah,
basics that everybody has to do. And if you're slipping on any of those areas, eventually it catches up with you, right?
it does.
So I know that it takes time and it's hard, but you have to do it. Like that is self-care too, right? Making sure that
It
you're getting
is.
that in. And then
Yeah.
taking the vitamin supplements or your medication on time, and just making sure that, yeah.
Yeah, because that's also important. That's part of your health care. If you don't take it, yeah, I agree with that.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Definitely. Let's see if anybody has any questions
Well,
for
thanks for
us.
all the love, you guys.
Thank you guys for joining us. I don't think there's any questions.
Yeah. I wanted to,
Um,
I know we're not gonna like get into it a lot today, but
yeah,
about like the infertility stuff and
of
not
course.
being able to have kids and that. Um, I didn't really share that at the beginning as part of my story, but yeah, like I've been told that I can't have children unless I had a donor egg. But I still am not sure because also sometimes you hear of like 5% chance that a woman has a spontaneous ovulation, and there's women who have POI who have gotten pregnant, and it's like,
Yes.
but it's never known as to why. So like that's why they changed it from premature ovarian failure to premature ovarian insufficiency. And it's like, so that is kind of hard to deal with too, because it's like, oh, like, is there hope or is there not hope? Like, it kind of messes with your head a little bit. Like, as in, like, am I going through all of this trauma and pain for like to have it all end well in the end, or is it something that I should have accepted by now and I'm still hanging on to that little hope? Like, it kind of messes around with your mental health a little bit
It
too, I
does.
think.
It does.
Yeah.
And it kind of it asks you, it kind of have you question, okay, if that person with PUI can get pregnant, that means I can do it. Why can't I do it? How come that person
Hmm.
can do it? So it's really, I think it does mess with your mental health. And I think that's where it comes to, it depends on like individuals, because
Yeah.
although we're all going through the same condition, like for everybody, it's kind of, everyone is different as well too.
Hmm.
And each person take a different path. And I think sometimes what I've seen in groups is like, some people are on some certain treatments or something, like they have like a regime that they go through and it helps them get pregnant, and then someone else might try it and it might not work. So it
Hmm.
definitely has a major impact. It just makes you feel so overwhelmed and
Yeah,
kind of,
it
so
does.
it does.
And then
It's hard.
deciding, sorry, go ahead.
I said it's really hard. Go ahead, don't worry,
It
you can
is.
interrupt
It's
anytime.
because I think there's a little lag because of the network, and it's on my ends.
Yeah,
Yeah, and it's like making that decision of whether or not do you want to try and have a kid and get a donor egg and go through that whole process of IVF, um, to have a miscarriage and have horrible heartbreak again, and to do another round of IVF and another round of IVF. Some people get pregnant on the first try, some people don't, and it costs a lot of money and it takes a lot of time, and you have to pump a lot of injections into you. It's so overwhelming to think about even approaching the subject of, do I want to do that? And then deciding, okay, or do I adopt, or do I decide not to have kids, like childless by choice? Like, I'm not going to try and do that. But I have to say, like, what I'm really thankful with about that is my partner has been really supportive of me, and he and I have been together for over 10, getting close to 10 years now. And I'm really, really thankful that he's very patient with me and very supportive with me about that, because it's such a difficult thing and it can break up relationships, and you have, it's so much. And I'm really thankful to have a relationship with, my partner has a daughter who he had when he was really young, and we reconnected with her
yeah.
recently. So she's like my adoptive daughter now, and that's really beautiful. And I feel the same love for her as a mother whether or not, like, I've just gotten to know her over the last few years, but I feel that strong connection with her. So I'm
That's
really thankful
amazing.
to have that. And she calls me Mama Ava. And, like, I share
Oh,
things about her on my page and stuff. And we're working on trying to have her come and live with us in Canada right now, because she lives in Guinea in West Africa. So her mom is and her family are on board with having her immigrate to Canada if we can get all the paperwork done. So that is kind of like in limbo right now, and we're just trying to make that happen. But
that's
I'm
amazing.
really thankful for that relationship, and I feel like that feels so right. Like, for me, like, maybe that's how I'm gonna be a mom,
Exactly.
like,
Maybe
even,
that's your path then. Maybe it's just
yeah,
right for you that way. Like, okay, I'm contented with this. I'm happy with this.
yeah.
Yeah. What?
And
Yeah.
see
I
what
like
and
that.
see what the future holds, because
Exactly.
she's 18 already, like, but
Wow.
we have, like, a really cool relationship. And then I also have, like, a really beautiful relationship with my god kids. Danielle, I think you're still watching. Oh, I just see your comment. But yeah, Danielle has anyway, I don't want to give a bunch of personal information over the internet, but I have a really
It's okay.
beautiful
We want to hear them
relationship with
all.
my with my god kids, and I'm really thankful for that. So
Yeah.
so those are really beautiful things, and there are positives, that it's not
Oh
always
no,
dark,
Ava.
like, yeah. And Danielle, I said,
She'll be back.
it can be very overwhelming. Oh, sorry about that. I was just reading Danielle's comment. It said, it sounds overwhelming and tough. You ladies are so strong. And thank
Oh,
you.
thank
It
you.
can be very
Yes.
overwhelming, that's for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah. But yeah, like I was just saying, I don't know if it cut out at that point, but that there can be a lot of positives to having relationships in those ways with kids, whether or not they're your biological kids or not.
Oh no.
And
Yeah.
then just seeing what the future holds, like, you never know. And I'm trying not to be so hard on myself, to be like, I have to make a decision right now, and just let everything kind of unfold in its time, and see what happens, and then make the right decision for me when I get to that point.
And that's a great approach because it shows that you realize what you're going through, and you're just willing to kind of see how life goes, and you have this amazing support and your daughter.
Yeah.
So she's your daughter. She's your daughter.
Yeah,
So
she
to
is.
have a great relationship with her it's really really good. And for me personally, for when we talk about infertility, I think we've spoken about this before. I think with my very first relationship that I had, and one of the reasons we broke up was because we wanted to go our separate ways because he wanted kids. And I was still very young. Then I was like 22, 23. I was like, no, I'm not ready to have kids. And I know I can't have kids. So I did tell him about my POI, and he was very supportive about it. It was one of the
Hmm.
guys that was like, okay, if it comes to a case whereby we have to go get second opinion, maybe abroad, in America or somewhere else. So it was very supportive. But I knew that he wanted kids. He was much older than me, was in his 30s. I was like, no, he
Hmm.
wanted kids, and I wasn't ready. And
Right.
I knew like possibly could not have kids, and I was still, getting to know myself as an individual. So I was like, no, no, I don't think, I think we should just go our separate ways. And, so that's how we ended the relationship, which was understandable. So it was fine.
Yeah.
I think
I'm sorry to
over
hear
the
that. It's
years,
still tough, it's
I think
hard.
for me over the years, I've actually had to have like a tough conversation with myself. Like, okay, what do I really want in terms of bringing a child? Do I want to have a child? Do I want to be childless? Do I want to adopt? Or what do I really want to do? Do I want to go through IVF and stuff? And I think I really have to think about it. I'm going to be emotional when it
It's
comes to that.
okay.
I think I really had to have a deep conversation with myself in regards to that. And for me, adoption is the way to. I decided adoption is what I'm going to use to bring
It's
the child into
beautiful.
this world. Yeah, so I'm going to go through adoption, and I know because even though I think I said this before, even though if I'm to, let's say, carry try and carry my own child by going through IVF or not egg donor or whatnot, it's like I don't want to bring a child into the world as well that could potentially go through infertility as well too. You know what I mean? Because I'm sure there is genetic. It can happen. So I don't want to bring, for me personally, that's just me. It's completely different
Yeah.
for everybody else. I don't want to bring a child into this what I could potentially go through infertility as well too, because I know how hard it is, and I know how even though you have people around you supporting group, sometimes you can still feel like you're alone, and you have to kind of remember yourself that you're not alone. You have groups and support and everything. So I
Hmm.
decided adoption is the route for me. So
That's amazing.
in the future. So I'm just kind of saying, okay, let's see how let's just see how things go. Just try and live
Yeah.
your life and
Hmm.
see how things
Yeah.
kind of go. So that's it for me in terms of
Yeah.
infertility. Ah,
That's beautiful. And you know, I think is that's so beautiful, and it
yeah,
is important to not be too hard
yes,
on yourself of having to make the decision right now. And
yeah,
especially if there's any ladies watching who have just been diagnosed with POI, like Anita and I both have had it for over 10 years now, right? And it
yeah.
takes many years, and you're going to go back and forth with
Hmm.
what you, so don't be hard on yourself if you don't know yet, what
Yeah,
you want, and just make sure you take that time, like Anita said, what she did, and really like take a hard look and really like decide and talk with yourself about what it is you want. And yeah, especially like I don't think in the first few years of being diagnosed, it's like so overwhelming to think about
it is.
everything,
It's
you
not even
know?
something you think about because you don't have the time to even start thinking about, am I gonna you because you're going through so much, like you're going through so
Mm-hmm.
much that you're trying to understand. So you have to get to a point. I think it's when you start to get older, you have to say, okay, what do I really want? What do I really want? Do I want to have a child? What do I want? What path do I want to go to? So I think that's
Mm-hmm.
when you get to that point. It takes progress. So don't feel rushed. Don't feel like you have to make a decision right now for yourself.
Yeah.
But I
Mm-hmm.
know that at the same time, like Ava, you said,
I
if
still
there
don't
is a
know.
yeah, but you made a point the other day, like if you've just been recently diagnosed and there's a possibility you can reserve some eggs, do so. That was something if you can do that
Yes.
because you never know what the future holds. But if that's not what
Yeah.
you want to do, either whatever path works for you, I think it's fine. It's your decision.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes society can make us feel like if you can't have a child or carry your own child, then you're less of a woman. But not don't
Right.
allow anybody to make you feel that way. Definitely.
Exactly. And also, like, yeah, for me, when I was diagnosed, I was so young and there was so much to take in. I remember it being mentioned about looking into saving eggs, but I was like 17 and then 18 years old, and it was like too overwhelming. And I was just graduating school and I was going to get ready to go for college. And I was just like, it's I don't have the money, I don't know what to do, like
Yeah.
maybe if this is what's meant to be, I shouldn't mess around with trying to save eggs, I don't know what's going on. That's kind of where I was at that point. But now 10 years later, I really regret not saving eggs, or at least looking into the possibility if I could have had eggs to save at that point, when it was near the beginning of being diagnosed, when I was still kind of getting some periods and then kind of not. So like I don't know if there would have been any eggs to save or not, but it
Yeah.
does hurt me, and I do cry about that a lot and feel a lot of regret over the fact that I didn't look into that more, because now I wish I had that option. And sometimes when you're young, you don't know what you want to do. And at that point, I also wasn't with my partner. I didn't know that I would meet someone who I wanted to have kids with someday. And so it, it's really,
Uh,
really, I have a lot of regret about it. So I think if you have the option of doing it, even if you freeze some eggs, it doesn't mean you have to use them. It just is an option for you there if you want to use them at some point in the future. If you don't end up using them, it's okay. But
yeah.
having that option when you get older is so nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just,
It's
it's
that was
tough.
not even something that wasn't even something that was said to me. Like I had no idea that you could even do that. It's like it's when I got
Mm-hmm.
older I started learning that you could do that. But I was like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm 31 now. What am I? It's like that's not.
I
I'm in a
know.
different wave right now. I'm completely in
Mm-hmm.
a different wave in life. So I'm taking like a different path. But if that was an option, maybe that was offered to me when I was initially diagnosed, like, okay, you can have
Mm-hmm.
potentially have kids. Maybe you have
Mm-hmm.
a bit of. Basically, I was told I had no eggs. So to
Mm-hmm.
me, it wasn't something I was thinking,
Yeah.
okay, I'm going to have kids in the future because I have no eggs. But
Have
the
no
fact that
anxiety.
some people can still preserve some eggs if they have a little bit, that should be an
Right.
option given to them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
And I don't know how it is now. But back then too, I also think like I didn't even have I didn't even have Facebook. Like the internet was so new. I didn't have
Yeah.
like a lot of stuff to research. And also it felt kind of like some weird science experiment. Like I didn't know like so I think that was like a little bit part of it too. But now we've seen that it does work for a lot of women and if it is an option. But yeah, anyway, I saw some comments. Let's take a look and see.
Okay, let's have a look.
Oh, Lori said, "Oh, so cute and sweet." And she said, "Adoption is wonderful. My mom had 3 miscarriages and I was
Oh,
adopted." Thanks for sharing that, Lori.
thank you. Let's see. I wish I knew earlier. Exactly. That's what it's like. I wish that was something
Hmm.
that was said like earlier.
Yeah,
But
Lucy said she
no,
found out she had POI when I was 30, and she said, "I'm 34 now. I wish I knew earlier." Yeah,
it's
it's
hard.
tough. It
It
is.
is tough. It's not easy. And
Sorry.
I think the other thing as well the other thing as well for me is that is other misconception that people have that when you tell them like you're going through pretty much menopause, and they're like,
Hmm.
"What? You're too young. What? Nah, what do you mean? You're too
Yeah,
young for that?" Because it's
I still
associated
get
with
that.
someone.
Yeah,
Yeah, I get that all the time. I still get that.
yeah.
Because I think it's associated with someone who's like 50, 51. I'm like, no.
Hmm.
People from the age of 12 get menopause. Like, what? No. I remember
Hmm.
telling the lady once when I told her that I have, she was like, wow. She told me, she's like, she started laughing. She's like, I would not have thought people, someone as young as you could get. I was like, well, people as younger may still get it. So
Yeah.
I said, there's still a lot of that misunderstanding there. A lot of people think
Yes.
it's associated with older people. And when people make comments as well, I know it can be really difficult when you tell someone because they think you're
Hmm.
making it up or you're trying to.
Yeah.
It's hard, and
And when you're
just
constantly having people dismiss your condition, it is hard
yeah,
because you start to feel like,
it is.
what am, then you don't even want to tell people after a
You don't
certain
want
point,
to. No, you
you
don't want
know?
to tell them. I think that's why you have to be very selective in who you tell and who you have discussions with in terms of, especially if you're close with, you're telling friends or family,
Hmm.
they're not always going to be supportive because not all of them are going to understand. So you have to be very careful who you go to and talk to. You want someone
Hmm.
who is supportive, who is understanding. They might not understand you, but they can
Who
actually
has
understand you.
empathy and
Exactly, empathy.
yeah,
So you want people like that around you. So
yeah,
it's very, very, very important. That's also part of mental health as well, to have people around you
yes.
who are um, supportive. How
Hmm.
easy was it for you to diagnose? Oh, Eva, do you want to go first? I think you spoke about that a little bit earlier
Yeah,
on.
so for me, the hard part about it was because I was so young. My doctor kept putting it off as like, oh, young ladies in their teens when they're first starting their periods have irregular periods. Sometimes it's normal. Don't worry about it. So that part was hard because we kept being told like, oh, it's fine, it's fine. And we kept going back to the doctor. And then it was like, I didn't have my period for a year. And we went to the doctor. I was like, I haven't had my period for a year. Like I went through puberty, I had it and it's
Yeah.
gone. And it's been a year. Like something is wrong. So that was the hard part was pushing to get to the right tests and pushing to get to see the right doctors, having to advocate for it. And then because being told for so long, oh, there's probably nothing wrong with you. It's normal. Every woman goes through irregular periods at certain times. Then when you get diagnosed, it was like the shock, right? So the diagnosis actually was off of a blood test for me, one blood test, and then they did another blood test a little later to repeat it to make sure that it was the same. And so for me, actually, the diagnosis, when the right doctor saw the right blood test, the diagnosis came right away. But it was getting to the doctor who knew about it that was the hard part.
For me, like I said, I didn't have period for nearly 4 years. So when I had the first one, I wasn't really, once I was told it's okay, so I wasn't really like, I was young. So I thought, okay, an adult knows better. So I just kind of went about going my secondary school and whatnot and everything else. So it's for nearly 3.5 years, I didn't have a period. So until finally I was advised to go seek medical advice. So that's when I went. I initially went to my GP, and my GP did a blood test and they referred me to a gyno. When I got there initially, they did a lot of blood tests. I didn't really understand what was going on. Like it wasn't necessarily,
Mm-hmm.
I was just there because I knew something wasn't right, but I didn't
Mm-hmm.
understand what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
So the gyno did some blood tests, and I think they did an ultrasound as well. And at a point, I had a surgery. I think that was to check my ovaries or something like that. I can't remember, but I know there was surgery, there was an ultrasound, and there was a few other things that was done. And then after that, with blood tests, I got called in, and I think it took about a few months. I got called in, and I was told I have premature ovarian failure.
Yeah.
So it took a few months, and I think the only thing for me, I wish that they would have kind of educated me along the way, even if I didn't really understand the process,
Mm-hmm.
but at least just kind of let me know this is what we're doing. We're doing this because of that. We're doing this because of that. We're
Mm-hmm.
doing this because of that. It would have really like helped me along the way to understand what was going on. But yeah,
Yeah.
so
And they're also kind of in a lot of shock when you're trying to
yeah,
take in the information. You can't understand what's happening. It is
yeah,
too, it's really overwhelming.
it is overwhelming.
Um, and then because for so long I've been hearing people's messages of you're too young to have menopause. It's fine. Nothing's wrong with you. Don't worry. Then getting the diagnosis, like I was just in denial for so long because I'm like, well, it can't be true. How can they know that off of a blood test? Like, what? Like it was so, yeah, it was hard.
It was that's one of the other reason. Like if you're doing blood tests, you say, okay, I'm doing blood tests because of this, because we're trying to look for this. I feel like
Hmm.
if you relate that to the patient, in a way they kind of understand, okay, they're doing this because of this. Okay, what are you looking for? You know what I mean? So I was just kind of
Hmm.
being left there,
Yeah.
and then come back and be like, you have this condition. You're like, what?
Yeah, yeah. That
How?
was something
Come?
that, yeah,
Yeah,
the appointment where I was told by the doctor the diagnosis was a really awful day because it was so shocking and it was told to me very bluntly. My mom and I remember we were there together. And so I was just like, it was so blunt. And the appointments are so short. And it's like you get told this and then you get thrown out into the street and we're walking to our car and we're both just crying, being like, what? This can't be true, you know? So, yeah.
yeah. It's crazy. I'm so glad,
Hmm.
Ava, you're here to share your story
Thank
today.
you.
If
Thanks so
anybody
much
else,
for having me on.
it's not a problem. I'm very happy to be here. If anybody else has a question for us, Ava, is there anything else you'd like to add at all? I can't think of anything else myself, but
Um,
I think we pretty much covered everything,
we covered
haven't
a
we?
lot. We did. I wonder what time is it? We covered a lot.
Yeah,
Thanks for everybody who followed along for the whole time. And yeah, if we think of anything, I'm sure that there'll be something, let's see. I think I shared everything I wanted to share
yeah,
today.
that's
How
good.
about you?
I did as well. I think we covered a lot. We
Yeah.
even talked about it because we didn't think of talking about the infertility part of
I
things.
know.
Yeah,
Sorry, it
so
just
it's
kind of
good. No,
came up.
no, no.
Yeah.
I'm glad that we covered that as well too. So I'm very glad. So
It's a
we
tough
covered a lot.
subject though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm glad that it's important to actually talk about that. So yeah, we covered a lot, guys. If you have any questions for myself or Ava, you can just send us a message, and
Yeah.
you're welcome. Send us a message, and yeah.
Thank you.
Ava, thank you so much for being here
Thanks
and
so
sharing your
much.
story.
Thanks for having me.
And no problem. And I
Yeah.
will
Oh, and
catch you later.
actually, there was one more thing.
Oh, yes, yes,
Uh,
yes. I forgot.
what, you go ahead. You go ahead.
Okay. So I forgot actually. Thanks for reminding me. So Ava and
Just
I am
remember,
currently
brain
working
fog.
on. Yeah, I know. Blame it on the brain frog. Yeah. Um, Ava and I are currently working on something for the POI community. So it was an idea, and we both um, thought like it would be a great idea and to be of a benefit to people who are going through POI, especially if you've been newly diagnosed or diagnosed a long time ago. I feel like it would be of a great benefit to the community. So we're currently working on that. We just want to let you guys know. So we'll give you guys more information on that as the time progresses. So yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to add?
Looking forward to it.
Yes.
Yeah, no, thanks again, and it's going to be great. And thanks for everybody who watched, and for all of my supportive friends and family. Like, I really appreciate if you've gotten to this point and you're still watching. I love you guys. You're
Thank you
amazing,
so much
and
for watching,
thank you for
guys.
tuning in.
We should do this
Yeah,
again sometime.
sounds great.
All right.
Thanks.
Talk to you
Have a
later.
good night.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.